Wind's gonna blow you hot and cold tonight. Life as it happens.
Welcome back, Home Wizards. Cindy Dole, Eric Stromer here on KFWB News Talk 980, where we're talking about willow trees, or any kind of tree like willow trees.
Love the willow. It's my daughter's name.
know.
That song always makes me feel a little wistful thinking about
a little
it.
sad.
Yeah, I love it.
It's a sweet song talking about
sure
basically go with the flow, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what we're kind of doing. We're trying to go with the flow in our garden. And if you've been thinking about planting a tree or a series of trees, I mean, God, there's so many places where you can get them for free. We just saw, if you go to the Arbor Day Foundation website, you're going to have to do this, Eric.
This is great.
You become a member for $10, and they're going to send you 10 free flowering trees.
And the flowering trees grow pretty quickly, don't they? You know, you get something maybe 3 feet tall, and you can expect, 15, 18 inches a year, right? That's about what it is.
It depends on the type of tree, but I mean, our palm trees is kind of fun to see. Like, oh my gosh, look, remember that like 10 years ago, and it seems like every year it's growing several feet.
But again, it can't stress enough how important it is to sort of do a bit of a plan on where the trees are going to go, how the canopies are going to affect your property, if it's the right location ultimately.
So let's go through again. Here you are. You're planning to plant your tree. And how big of the hole? We said about 2 to 3 times the size of the container, right? And then about as deep as the root ball. Don't go too much deeper.
No,
and then,
you don't want to get it too low.
And don't, make sure that what they call the root collar, that top part when you see the tree in its container, that top flat part, that is roughly flush
to the existing soil
to the ground.
Around it. Yeah.
A lot of people really bury it down. That poor tree is not going to succeed in that situation.
No.
And if you have overdug the hole, maybe put some more fresh dirt in there.
Yeah, oftentimes they recommend you make your hole, but then there's a mound in the center where the root balls sit directly on it, and it's a little bit lower around the root ball itself and the perimeter of that hole. So, it's almost like a reverse U in that hole, essentially. So it's sitting on a little pedestal.
It's a U tree.
That's
in
correct.
In a U hole.
Yeah. And again, when you're digging, anytime you're digging with a shovel, you want to wet the soil, get it nice and soft, so it's going to be much easier on your lower back. And again, warm the back up when you're using a shovel and digging, because that position of being bent over is really precarious on that lower lumbar. So just warm up a bit.
Well, and speaking of digging, before you dig anything anywhere, we also have this link on our website at Home Wizards, yourhomewizards.com. Did you know that there is a national hotline? It's called 811. And if you go to yourhomewizards.com, I'm going to show you right now, we have the link. And it basically says no matter where you live, you can find the state where you live. They're saying no matter what you dig, whether it's for a tree or whatever you're doing in your yard, you want to make sure that you're doing something safe, because it's called call811.com. And, there could be some problems. There could be power lines.
Right.
Some serious stuff.
Running through the electrical running through the ground.
Right.
Obviously you want to be very careful. If you are meeting with resistance, don't keep hacking away at it with a shovel until you investigate and find out it might just be a tree root, but you don't want to interfere with some power lines.
So no matter what you're...
Also, sprinkler lines.
Yeah. Any kind of digging.
I see that stuff getting shredded so often when you're going through your garden and digging holes. You want to be very careful not to hit that PVC, because that's another couple hours of your time.
So keep this link in your faves for sure. Call811.com, and it's really handy, because no matter whatever home improvement job where you might have to do, whether it's a deck or a fence or again a tree like we're talking, they're going to guide you through. They have a hotline there, if you will, national number. So it's kind of a cool little tidbit.
And then one more thing too, from the health perspective, when you're digging, there's this thing called the Valsalva maneuver. So that means it's the Valsalva maneuver.
Okay.
So if you hold your breath while you're doing something strenuous, your blood pressure rises dramatically. So you want to make sure that you're always breathing nice and easy whenever you're doing. It's almost like lifting weights. You want to exhale and inhale as you're doing something strenuous. Happens a lot in the Midwest with snow. People dig and they go, and then they start to dig, and the heart attack happens from that Valsalva maneuver. I'm a doctor. I don't know if you know that.
He's a doctor. You're giving us some yoga instructions, too.
I just want to help everyone not injure their body.
Okay. Well, I like the idea of, as we're getting the tree out of its container, which, you're getting it out of its container by not lifting the trunk out. You want to tilt the tree on its side. and carefully loosen up that black store-bought container that it's in and get it out. But then I like the idea of cutting an X on the bottom of the root ball, and then even also on the sides of the root, all the way around. So there's a total of 4 of them.
Right.
And the deal is that now it's going to have a chance. You're not going to hurt it.
No.
You're going to actually give it a better chance to be stronger and grow faster.
Yeah, the
so
roots
those roots can
they're
just
liberated.
Be
they
free.
Can be free and fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Don't be afraid, little fella.
No.
Keep growing.
Now, what are some of the amendments, if any, that you throw in the hole?
Well, before you even do that, you want to make sure you use a lot of the soil that's in the container. I guess that'd be a good amendment.
Sure.
I mean, it was in that soil for a while,
Yeah.
so let it have what it that's home to this tree.
I see.
So throw some of that existing dirt in there.
Okay.
And then maybe some more topsoil on top of that. And then before you even add some more amendments and mulch, you want to make sure that you have a nice little circle or a watering hole away from the trunk, several feet away from the trunk, but in the perimeter. You've done that before,
Sure,
right?
yeah. You create like a little moat, basically, in the dirt. Yeah.
So the alligators can swim
That's
in there. And then you're going to, after the tree has been planted, you'll let it soak for about an hour, a nice slow drip. And then that'll give that guy a good chance to live and thrive.
That's fantastic. I love this idea of the incentives from the local cities, where we get the free trees. All we have to do is ask.
And there's a number of websites, too. I mean, a lot of us are thinking about things you can do to save water. And there's a number of places, like the Theodore Payne Foundation, for one. If you go to their site, and we have the link on ours as well, and they'll give you some tips on the best kind of tree, because you want to have the right tree, the right place, but also we're all thinking about saving water. And there's so many great drought-tolerant trees that are not going to require as much water. Like we were talking about earlier, we have the pepper tree, the California pepper tree is amazing. And the list goes on and on. So do think about that, because it's going to help you in the long run in terms of saving water and saving money. The Australian willow is really a great evergreen tree, because it looks beautiful, and it can even take some drought. And I love that. So you're getting the pretty fluffy effect, and it isn't really a finicky, thirsty tree.
Right.
Do you have some favorites in your yard?
Yeah, I do. I love we have a huge eucalyptus in the front yard, which routinely I've been a little scared of, because sometimes they have a
Fires?
tendency to drop branches. But the city has been sort of using that tree as the go-to tree, because they grow so rapidly and do provide such shade. But this thing has gotten so big. I have it on a bubbler on my drip system, and I tell you, the thing must be 300 feet high by now. It looks like a Dr. Seuss tree. It's just huge. It's like dogs are up there having a party in that Go Dog Go book, if you've ever seen that. But the kids love it. We have a nice tree swing in the front, and so far so good. I get a little nervous when the high winds come, because there is a big branch that goes right over the roof, so I'm a little concerned there. But so far, it's been okay.
Whenever when those Santa Anas come, it is kind of nervous time, isn't it?
That's right. It really is. You do want to be careful to if you have the ability to get a tree trimmer out there to cut some of the stuff coming right over the house, because that can wreak havoc with your roof if there was an issue.
What kind of tools do you think are important to have for folks who want to plant a tree? I mean, really, a good shovel.
You want a great shovel.
And a good garden knife. And,
yeah, absolutely.
And that's about it.
And that spade shovel works great, because you can use your foot on the end of the shovel as you're trying to dig that hole, and use your body weight and almost stand up on the blade itself as you're pushing and plunging down into the soil. And it really makes a huge difference. It actually cuts through and gets you a nice cut through the soil.
There's a lot of great trees that can also give you shade, that are successful in shade, and it's important to consider some of those. If you don't mind a little bit of the purple petals that fall, it's a small and kind of umbrella-shaped tree, but it's really pretty. It's called the silk mimosa.
Sounds like
you like mimosas.
Cocktail, doesn't it? Yeah, I was going to say.
But it has this kind of a purple effect, and it's so pretty, or pinkish purple effect. And then there also is the locust tree. It's colorful, and it's an easy grower. Or how about the desert willow? It blooms, because you said you want to have flowering trees. We have this tree in our front yard called the orchid tree, and it's deciduous. So I'm not really a big fan of the deciduous, but why I still love it is that it's saving up all that energy to produce these magenta pink two-tone flowers that look just like an orchid.
Ooh, that
and
sounds
boy,
beautiful.
when that baby in the spring is fully blooming, it is just amazing.
Now, I have a neighbor, bless his soul, who came to my door a couple of days ago and said, how about I pay to cut your palm tree down because it's over my tennis court and I don't like it. And I said, thank you very much, but we're not interested, and gently shut the door. But I felt like that was a little bit of gall there. Like the palm fronds were falling on his court when he's playing tennis. But it's a beautiful tree for our property. It just looks great. So I don't think he went about it the right way. Maybe brownies would have helped.
I think you always have to kind of feed your neighbors to make them happy. Yeah.
But again, that tree I think was planted too close to the property line originally. So that again, speaks to the point of really kind of organizing where you want the trees to grow ultimately, because they do get big so fast.
Maybe what you do is once every couple of months you go over to his tennis court and you just pick up the leaves.
That's not
As
a bad
a favor.
idea. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll try it.
And then play a round of tennis.
I
Just borrow.
I
You
think
show up.
I think I
you
could
show
take
up
him.
in your tennis
I
outfit.
think I
And he'll
could
go,
take
"Oh my
him. He's
god!"
about 80. I think I could take him.
Okay. Well, as we segue into hour 2, I'm going to give you a glimpse. You've seen my orange kitchen before.
I
and
really have.
What would you say?
It has one of the lowest overhangs I've ever seen. It almost feels like the when the wizard opens the door of the castle. Yeah,
it's the drive-through window
That's right.
effect. That's the cabinet that I literally had like maybe barely a foot to duck down and say, What do you want for dinner?
Right.
How can I get, so we'll tell you about the kitchen makeover that's about to get underway. And then later we're going to help you with home safety, because kids are getting back to school and you want to make sure that they feel safe from the bad guys when they're home alone, right?
Yep.
Eric Stromer, Cindy Dole, Home Wizards. Don't you go away. We're just getting started here on KFWB News Talk 980.